Before there was Motown, before there was Stax, before anybody was calling it soul music, there was one man's voice that basically invented the genre from scratch. His name was Sam Cooke, and if you've never heard his name before today, by the end of this video, you're going to understand why people still call him the King of Soul 60 years after his death. Let's talk about the numbers first, because they're honestly insane. 13 years. That's it. 13 years in the business. And in that time, he landed 29 songs in the top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100, 20 more in the top 10 of the Black Singles Chart. This isn't a guy who got lucky once. This is a guy who kept getting it right over and over in an era when the odds were stacked against Black artists ever getting mainstream airplay at all. He was born January 22nd, 1931, in Clarksdale, Mississippi, one of 8 kids, son of a Baptist preacher. The family moved to Chicago when he was a toddler, and that's where the voice started to take shape. Church choir first, then a family gospel group called the Singing Children when he was only 6 years old. By his teens, he was already turning heads. He joined a gospel group called the Highway QCs, and then, at just 19 years old, he did something wild. He stepped in as the lead singer of the Soul Stirrers, one of the biggest gospel groups in the country, replacing a legend. 19. Think about that. Under Cook, the Soul Stirrers didn't just perform, they became a sensation. He had this effortless, velvety tenor that could hit impossibly high notes without ever sounding strained, and audiences, especially young women, would rush the stage. He was gospel music's first real teen idol. But Cook wanted more. He believed his voice and his message deserved a bigger stage than gospel could offer him at the time. So he made one of the boldest career pivots in music history. He crossed over into secular pop music at real risk of being rejected by the gospel community that made him famous. He was right to bet on himself. In 1957, he dropped You Send Me. It didn't just chart, it owned the charts, holding the #1 spot on the Billboard Top 100 for 3 straight weeks, practically overnight. His weekly earnings jumped from a couple $100s to the modern equivalent of tens of thousands of dollars a week. He performed for Ed Sullivan. He was, by every definition, a superstar. Here's the thing though, Sam Cooke didn't need decades to build his legacy. He built it in 13 years flat. Every soul singer who ever made you feel something with just their voice owes something to him. Every Black artist who ever fought to own their own masters owes something to him. Every protest song that ever moved the crowd owes something to a change is gonna come. They call him the King of Soul for a reason. And once you know, and off stage, he was using his fame for something bigger than himself. Sam Cooke stood shoulder to shoulder with Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, and NFL legend Jim Brown, using his platform and his voice to push for racial equality during one of the most turbulent chapters of the civil rights movement. That commitment poured directly into his music. He wrote and released A Change Is Gonna Come, a song that became one of the defining anthems of the entire civil rights era. It wasn't just a hit, it was a message, and it's still one of the most powerful protest songs ever recorded, more than 60 years later. Musically, what made him untouchable was the range, literally and emotionally. He could go from playful and light to deeply reflective to gut wrenching, soulful, sometimes inside the same song. And the list of artists he influenced read like a Hall of Fame roll call: Otis Redding, James Brown, Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, Rod Stewart, Mick Jagger, Paul McCartney. There was a direct line from Sam Cooke's voice to almost everything soul, R&B, and rock and roll became afterward. Now, I want to talk about how his story ended because his family deserves for it to be told with respect. December 11th, 1964, Sam Cooke's life was cut short at a motel in Los Angeles under circumstances that were chaotic, confusing, and to this day disputed. A shooting took place, an inquest followed, and the official ruling on record was justifiable homicide. But officially closed is not the same as fully understood. Cook's family and many of the people closest to him never accepted that the full truth came out that night, and they've spent decades since asking the questions that were never properly answered. Even his close friend Muhammad Ali publicly pointed out that if Cook had carried the same star power as a Sinatra or a Beatle, there would have been a real investigation, not a quiet close. I'm not here to relitigate that night. I'm here to make sure you know that the family's doubts are real, they're documented, and they matter. What isn't in doubt is what the world lost that night. One of the most gifted voices and sharpest business minds American music has ever produced. Silenced at just 33 years old. Here's the thing though, Sam Cooke didn't need decades to build his legacy. He built it in 13 years flat. Every soul singer who ever made you feel something with just their voice owes something to him. Every black artist who ever fought to own their own masters owes something to him. Every protest song that ever moved the crowd owes something to a change is gonna come. They call him the King of Soul for a reason. And once you know the whole story, not just the music, but the man behind it, you understand that title isn't an exaggeration, it's an understatement. If this hit different, drop a comment with your favorite Sam Cooke song and subscribe because keeping history alive is important here on this channel. This has been Advanced Lance.